The relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, an Eastern perspective. The relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law has been an area of great interest for researchers. Since the first ever comprehensive study on this relationship by Duvall, most of the researchers in this field have concluded that this relationship is conflictual and largely negative in nature. The same trend has also been observed through films and TV shows whereby these two women are always shown fighting with each other, especially the mother-in-law is more demonized. Studies have also reported that this relationship is stressful for both the women, has negative consequences upon the marital adjustment of the daughter-in-law, and negatively affects the entire family. Studies from the individualistic Western cultures have revealed that the roles of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law within a family are quite ambiguous. In collectivistic Eastern cultures, however, these roles have been strictly defined whereby the mother-in-law has more power within the family as compared with the daughter-in-law, such as in Taiwan and China. There is, however, very less literature on the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law from Eastern collectivistic cultures. Dr. Sukoon initiated to bridge this knowledge gap by exploring the aforesaid relationship in a collectivistic Eastern culture. His study involved 440 participants including 217 mothers-in-law and 223 daughters-in-law from Pakistan. The mothers-in-law were aged between 35 to 94 years, 182 among them were housewives and 35 among them were working women. The daughters-in-law were aged between 18 to 53 years, 147 among them were housewives and 76 among them were working women. Two separate scales, one for mothers-in-law and the other for daughters-in-law, were developed in Urdu. Each of these scales comprised of 10 items having a 5-points Likert scale for responses. The scales were named as Sukoon Mother-in-Law Profiler and Sukoon Daughter-in-Law Profiler. Each scale consisted of two different but related dimensions, namely the active relationship and the passive relationship. The active dimension of the relationship was defined as the attitudes and behaviors of mother-in-law or daughter-in-law toward her counterpart. The passive dimension of the relationship was defined as the perception of mother-in-law or daughter-in-law about the attitudes and behaviors of her counterpart toward her. Each scale had 5 items for active relationship and 5 items for passive relationship. The study by Dr. Sukoon measured the levels of relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law and the possible differences in this regard. It was found that the level of the overall relationship of mother-in-law with daughter-in-law was 79.58%, the level of the active relationship of mother-in-law with daughter-in-law was 79.6%, and the level of the passive relationship of mother-in-law with daughter-in-law was 79.52%. The level of the overall relationship of daughter-in-law with mother-in-law was 77.06%, the level of the active relationship of daughter-in-law with mother-in-law was 78.2%, and the level of the passive relationship of daughter-in-law with mother-in-law was 75.92%. Further analysis revealed that the passive relationship between daughters-in-law and mothers-in-law had a significant difference. It means that the daughters-in-law had a significantly different and poorer perception of their relationship with mothers-in-law as compared with mothers-in-law's similar perception about their relationship with daughters-in-law. The differences in the relationship between mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law based on their being housewives or working women revealed no significant differences. The study also revealed that there was a significant inverse correlation between mother-in-law's education and mother-in-law's relationship with daughter-in-law. That is, the higher a mother-in-law is educated, the poorer her relationship with her daughter-in-law would be. The same result was further probed by a simple regression analysis whereby education of mother-in-law strongly predicted a negative relationship with daughter-in-law. Education was not significantly correlated in the similar context with the daughters-in-law. Age, on the other hand, had no significant correlation with the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Women have been given a gender-based role to maintain relationships within their families. After the marriage of their sons, the daughters-in-law become part of their families and tend to share this role with mothers-in-law. The sons get more attached with their wives as compared to their blood relatives. The daughter-in-law becomes a bridge between the love of the son and his mother, which puts her in a confrontation with her mother-in-law due to power dynamics within the family. Moreover, the daughter-in-law, along with her husband, remain more attached with the family of wife instead of being close to the husband's family. The mothers-in-law, therefore, develop a feeling that their sons would be detached from them by their daughters-in-law. A folk saying quoted by Fisher is, "A daughter is a daughter the rest of her life, a son is a son until he takes a wife." These feelings, however, are quite normal and temporary. Researchers have argued that mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law may get turning points soon after they realize the importance of each other. The first important turning point within this relationship is the birth of a baby, which strengthens the family. Mothers-in-law get happy by becoming grandmothers and get attached with their grandchildren. Daughters-in-law become mothers themselves and recognize the maternal feelings and responsibilities. Thus, the conflicts between mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law get significantly reduced, especially in collectivistic Eastern cultures. As depicted by the findings of the study by Dr. Sukoon, the situation between mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law is not as bad at all as portrayed by the media. It is rather quite encouraging. The findings have revealed the positive nature of this relationship in the understudied culture. Mothers-in-law's relationship with their daughters-in-law was 80% positive. The same relationship was 77% positive for daughters-in-law. This is quite encouraging as compared with the studies conducted in Western cultures. Daughter, in Eastern cultures, are raised in such a way that teaches them to be obedient and submissive. People living in Eastern cultures, especially the women, are less aware of mental health-related issues and rights. Moreover, they are not taught to disclose their psychosocial problems in a way which could damage their immediate relationships. The mothers-in-law, however, perceive their daughters-in-law more positively as compared with the perception of the daughters-in-law regarding them. This finding of the study by Dr. Sukoon is in line with earlier Western studies where daughters-in-law perceive the relationship with their mothers-in-law in a more negative and conflictual way as compared with mothers-in-law's relationship towards their daughters-in-law. Another significant finding of the aforesaid study by Dr. Sukoon is the role of mother-in-law's education in her relationship with the daughter-in-law. The study has revealed that mothers-in-law with lesser education have more positive relationship with their daughters-in-law as compared to mothers-in-law with higher levels of education. This finding could also justify why the understudied relationship is less conflictual in Eastern cultures where mothers-in-law or women in general are not highly educated. Apart from the novel findings from an Eastern culture, the study by Dr. Sukoon has also developed and validated two scales to profile the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Within these scales, the relationship is seen from two different, but relevant dimensions, namely active dimension of the relationship and passive dimension of the relationship. The future researchers are suggested to conduct similar studies from other Eastern cultures as there is a huge knowledge gap in this regard. They are also advised to analyze the role of childbirth and socioeconomic status in the understudied relationship, as the aforesaid study by Dr. Sukoon could not incorporate these interesting variables. Thanks for listening. To read the entire paper, kindly visit www.dersukoon.info.